Part 9. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 81. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, because Miyazaki Yuta was broken up in love, Kurosawa left school with him to welcome the weekend and comfort him. Don't worry about it. Evil people will be punished. She will be punished sooner or later. While walking outside the school, Kurosawa Hikaru also said, "What kind of retribution will she suffer?" Following closely, Yuta Miyazaki suddenly became curious. For example, if you offend someone you shouldn't, be caught in front of a bad person, or be arrested by the police. Kurosawa Hikaru thought for a while, and there were probably two endings. To this day, Akaritsu Mujiharu is still at large and continues to cast a wide net to catch men. I am afraid she has not suffered yet. The more this happens, once caught, it will be a big deal. In fact, being caught by the police is okay, but it would be really scary if you were caught by someone with antisocial personality. So serious. Yuta Miyazaki was startled, and even imagining it felt terrifying. Are you trying to persuade her to change her mind and have a follow-up story with her? Noticing that his reaction was so great, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly became a little suspicious and turned his head to examine him. Yuta Miyazaki was a little choked and speechless after her little thought was seen through. Stop contacting her and just delete her as a friend. Do you understand? No. At this moment, they arrived at the school gate. Kurosawa just a few steps outside, a pleasant shout rang out. I saw a car parked not far away, and Igarashi Runa stood leaning against the car, waving in this direction. Miss Runa. Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised. He didn't expect that it would be like this when she said she came to pick him up. Kurosawa, who is that beautiful big sister? Miyazaki Yuta, who was walking side by side, was immediately shocked when he saw the beautiful woman in front of the luxury car, and turned around in shock. While asking, he couldn't help but look at the beautiful woman. She was wearing a black short-sleeved jacket lined with a beige vest. Under the dusk sun, her skin was so white that it seemed to reflect light. She had slender arms, a small waist and a hot figure. Under the hot pants was a pair of big white legs and high heels. Silver gray short hair, bangs, and sideburns, neatly combed, hair styled very carefully, beautiful and good-looking face, clean and flawless. Wearing bright lipstick, delicate lips, and a warm greeting smile, the lethality is too strong. She is handsome, beautiful, and has the aura of an older sister. It is no exaggeration to say that this is a super beauty he met on the street and could not help but follow her for a while, just hoping to take a few more glances. And the car she was relying on, even if she didn't know the model, she knew it was expensive just by looking at the appearance. Kurosawa. Is she your ex-girlfriend? Are you back together? The more he looked at her, the more he felt the charm of this big sister, and Yuta Miyazaki immediately went crazy. He had just fallen out of love, and then he saw his best friend having a relationship with a beautiful woman. This was even more uncomfortable than killing him. Remember to delete your friends. I have something else to do, so I'll take the first step. Kurosawa Hikaru saw his gnashing of teeth and realized that he was definitely overthinking. He quirked his lips in a funny way, without explaining, just reminded him and walked over. Delete your friends. Yuta Miyazaki stayed where he was and shouted. Of course she deleted her. If you dare to delete me as a friend, you will know what cruelty means next Monday, Kurosawa replied without looking back. Immediately afterwards, under the gaze of Miyazaki Yuta, he got into the car with Igarashi Runa and sat on the passenger seat. At this time, there were still some students at the school gate, but not many. Isn't that Kurosawa? Having said that, because Kurosawa is one of the celebrities in the economics discipline, some people still recognized him. Who's that person? Igarashi Runa sat in the driver's seat and glanced through the car window to see the man who was still staring over there. Yoda Miyazaki, my desk mate and good friend Kurosawa Hikaru responded after sitting firmly, pulling on his seat belt. Do you have roommates in college? We often sit together, we are at the same table. I see. Why did you come directly to the school gate to pick me up? Kurosawa Hikaru looked sideways at her, a little surprised. I have to say that Ms. Runa is indeed very beautiful, and she is not inferior to Mr. Ninomiya. It should be said that each has his or her own merits. If Mr. Ninomiya is a cold and arrogant teacher, then Ms. Runa is an urban beauty with a high fashion value. If he hadn't known that she was an agent, Kurosawa would have doubted whether she was a fashion model. Isn't it bad? Igarashi Runa asked. I was thinking of going home and dropping off my things before contacting you, Kurosawa just said without comment. Then shall I take you home first? Do you need me to change clothes? No, if you need to change clothes, there are plenty of things to do. Then let's go. Kurosawa Hikaru thought about it, it was just for a school bag, there was no need to go home specially. Immediately afterwards, the car started, reversed, entered the driveway and started off. You look quite handsome in your uniform. No wonder Chizuru can't stand you wearing clothes like that. Because we were in the city and couldn't drive at high speeds, Igarashi Runa looked at him sideways while driving, a little strange. After all, this was their second meeting. The short-sleeved white shirt and black trousers are like the uniforms of salesmen and ordinary office workers, but they give Hikaru Kurosawa a refined look. Ms. Runa is the one who is the expert in dressing, Kurosawa Hikaru responded in a polite manner. To be honest, she is really good at dressing, she is handsome and cool, and most importantly, she is very beautiful. Does this look good? Nice. Don't praise me in front of Chizuru. Igarashi Runa curled her lips and warned. I know, Kurosawa nodded. It is very unwise to praise other people in front of girls. By the way, Chizuru asked where we would go for the interview last night. I think she cares about whether you can succeed. Invite her to have dinner with you. Is there such a good thing? Kurosawa Hikaru feels that this is indeed a good thing. Although there is no task triggered, the more times they meet, the better it is for building a good relationship. So you invite? Of course I'm invited. Ms. Runa really taught me step by step how to chase Ninomiya-sensei. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded when he heard this and couldn't help but sigh. I have to say that having Ms. Runa as your wingman is really easy. You don't have to use your brain. She will naturally find ways to help you create opportunities. You are a talented man and a beautiful woman. I am very optimistic about you. Igarashi Runa shrugged and did not deny it. She felt that Kurosawa Hikaru and Chizuru really matched each other well. The key is that as a close friend and bestie, she knows very well that Chizuru is interested in Kurosawa Hikaru, otherwise it would be impossible for her to agree to go to the amusement park together. It is all lies to say that it is to prevent him from falling in love or that it will affect his studies. I'm afraid Chizuru has been thinking about waiting for this younger brother to graduate a long time ago, and no longer need to worry about his identity as a teacher and student, to officially fall in love. Please vote, and this book will be released on November 1st next month. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 82. On the way to the agency, Igarashi Runa played a song, but she was no longer the karaoke god. Because she wanted to sign Kurosawa Hikaru and take him to debut, she temporarily gave up the karaoke god. She agreed. Kurosawa Hikaru held his phone, saw the reply from Mr. Ninomiya, raised his head and said. That's fine, by the way, what is your singing level? Don't talk about entry and a little bit, let me have some idea. Halfway, Igarashi Runa remembered something and asked. Better than the karaoke god. Kurosawa Hikaru thought about it and said. Have you practiced it normally? I occasionally sing a few words on a whim, does it count as practice? Of course not, Practicing singing must be guided by a professional teacher, and then adjusted step by step. No. Then you dare to say you are better than the karaoke god? Igarashi Runa really wanted to complain about him like this. It is no exaggeration to say that although it is a mobile phone recording, the effect is not so good, but as a gold medal agent, she can feel that the singing skills of the karaoke god are ahead of most singers in the industry, and can even be on par with some powerful singers who have been famous for many years. But when the words came to his lips, he gave up, so as not to dampen his enthusiasm. Forget it, you have a good foundation, handsome looks, outstanding temperament, can play the piano, and you are a student of the University of Tokyo. You have the label of a top student, so it is not difficult to become popular. Igarashi Runa took a deep breath, calmed down, and said very optimistically. Although academic qualifications and knowledge learned from the University of Tokyo are not very useful for being a singer and artist, but the label of a top student is still very attractive to fans. Miss Runa, actually I have something to tell you. Hearing this, Kurosawa Hikaru hesitated for a few seconds, but still chose to speak. What? I don't want to show my face, and I don't want people to know that I am a student of the University of Tokyo, and know that I am Kurosawa Hikaru. Huh? Igarashi Runa heard this, subconsciously stepped on the brakes to slow down, and turned his head in disbelief. If people know my true identity, wouldn't it be troublesome? What if there are some fanatical fans? It might affect my studies and the people around me. Facing her shocked eyes, Kurosawa Hikaru explained with a guilty conscience. If he really became a well-known big star, he would have a problem not only doing dating tasks, but even wanting to date and meet people. What do you plan to do? First, post videos on the internet, play the piano and sing songs, then launch a personal masked image, accumulate some popularity, and try to debut and release singles. Let's not talk about whether this method can be popular. If it is popular and the fans respond enthusiastically, what will you do if you are asked to hold a concert one day? Wear a mask on stage. You are really thoughtful. Hearing his whimsical proposal, Igarashi Runa suddenly had a headache and squeezed out a bitter smile from the corner of his mouth. Sorry, it's difficult for you. Kurosawa Hikaru was embarrassed to see that she was troubled. He wanted to be a singer because he wanted to give his singing and piano skills space and opportunities to play, but he didn't want to affect his life. Your concerns are not unreasonable, I can understand. Igarashi Runa thought about it, and after careful consideration, he said. If you think about it carefully, if Kurosawa Hikaru really becomes famous, it will be a big problem for him to date Chizuru. Even if they wait until graduation to be together, some unscrupulous reporters will not care so much. Once they find out, they will definitely say that they are in a teacher-student relationship before graduation. If this is really the case, then the matter will be serious, and hiding your identity is indeed a last resort. Anyway, I have made an appointment with the review team for you. Go to the agency first and let the company's people see your level and upper limit, and then make plans. Although I am a gold medal agent, I am a part-time worker after all, and I can only give you the lower limit of resources. As for how high the upper limit of resources is, it depends on you to fight for it, especially since you offer such conditions. Igarashi Runa thought about it and decided to let it go and take it one step at a time. The rise of a star depends not only on the individual, but also on the team and resources. Okay. Kurosawa Hikari was grateful to her for being so considerate. Miss Runa, you are really a good person. Can I ask what aspects the review team will review? After a moment of silence, Kurosawa Hikari planned to find out about the test questions first. First, it looks at appearance, then age and figure, and finally talent. Talent comes last. A good image can raise the upper limit to a higher level. Unless the talent is really strong, it is difficult, I originally thought that you would definitely pass the review and get first-class resources, but if you want to mask and hide your identity, there will be suspense. I will pass the review. Kurosawa Hikari thought about it and felt that it was no different from his previous life. You want to pass the review, with your piano skills, it will definitely not be a problem, but what level of resources you can get is the key. How many levels of resources are there? Top-tier resources are allocated to the entire company, first-class resources are allocated to the team for individual care, second-class, third-class, and fourth-class resources are not discussed. Among them, top-tier resources require the board of directors to decide, and first-class resources are approved by the reviewers unanimously or by the majority, and can be decided after market research. Oh. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't expect that there were such rules and sayings. Relax, and don't be too anxious. If you want to become famous and become a big star, everyone does it step by step. There are very few stars who reach the sky in one step. Seeing that his words became less frequent, Igarashi Runa comforted him. I will perform well, and I am not in a hurry. If I am in a hurry to become famous, I will show my face. She was vaccinated in advance, and Kurosawa Hikaru also understood the reason. Although he also thought about whether it was possible for him to reach the top in one fell swoop, because he had an entry-level singing voice and piano, he could still recognize the reality. Are you so confident about your face? What do you think? It's indeed qualified. Kurosawa did feel a little nervous, but not much. After all, he has never been an artist before, and this is his first contact with this field. The feeling of the unknown can arouse people's nervousness and fear. As for his singing skills, he is confident. Although he has demonstrated it before, Xiaoyuki said that the video was recorded with a mobile phone, so his level and strength cannot be fully demonstrated. In short, those few people who heard him sing with their own ears, what Ms. Runa heard was not the original voice. Under this premise, as long as he adjusts his singing method and voice, there will be no flaws. The skill of introduction to singing voice is very powerful, allowing him to completely control his singing voice, and he can also sing female voices, as well as various male voices. Finally, the car drove into an underground parking lot. When you enter the office later, no matter what celebrities you see, you can say hello, but they may not pay attention to you, so if they don't know you, you just need to nod. Another point, which is crucial, is that you are in the office. Everything you see in the office is not allowed to be told to anyone else, except Kins. She often listens to me mentioning things about the office and knows the rules. Igarashi Runa turned off the engine, unbuckled her seat belt, and gave instructions. I see. Kurosawa unbuckled his seat belt and nodded. Such rules are good for others and good for them. Let's go and let everyone see your strength. Igarashi Runa knew that he was a smart man, so she didn't say anything more. She just waited for him to get off the car, turned around and smiled at him, invited his hand, and walked forward on high heels. Different from the day at the amusement park, she looked more feminine and her figure was more graceful when wearing high heels. Kurosawa touched his nose and took steps to follow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 83. I walked to the elevator in the parking lot and waited for a while before the elevator arrived in the parking lot. Senior Igarashi. The elevator door opened, and a beautiful woman with long wavy brown hair, a pair of glasses, and a windbreaker couldn't see the whole picture, but she could still see her extraordinary temperament. When she saw Igarashi Runa, she nodded slightly and said hello. Next to this beautiful woman, there were several people, both men and women. While talking, they also walked out of it, as if they were a small team. Miss Kurikawa, Where are you going? Igarashi Runa glanced at her and responded. He took out his work ID card and swiped it, and the elevator was activated. I'm going to Kyoto to catch up with the announcement. This brother is the newcomer you strongly recommended? He looks very good. It would be perfect if he was taller. What do you want an artist to be so tall for? He's not a basketball player. That makes sense. Bon voyage. Good luck with your work. After a few polite exchanges, the two parties separated. In this strange situation, Kurosawa Hikaru did not speak without permission. Following the footsteps and entering the elevator, Kurosawa Hikaru turned around and saw Miss Kurikawa outside, waving to him as if to welcome him, very friendly. Do you recognize who she is? The elevator door closed, Igarashi Runa straightened her clothes and spoke. It looks familiar. Kurosawa Hikaru always felt like he had seen her somewhere, but he couldn't remember. After all, he doesn't know much about the artists and celebrities in this world. He only studied them when he was a child. Many of the artists and stars in this world are the same as in previous generations. Even if there are differences, they are at most just slightly different names, but their works are almost the same. Of course, the two worlds are not exactly the same, so not all works are the same. Kurikawa Yume, she is a film and television artist. She has filmed many popular TV series. You may have seen her posters at bus stops, subway stations and the like. What level of resources does she get? First class. How many are top-notch? 2 of them are Fujiwara Rika and Suma-Aim. They each occupy the top ranks of the male and female factions. One of them is in your hand. Hikaru Kurosawa had no idea about the other name. Yes, as the biggest contributor to the signing of Fujiwara Rika, I am quite famous in the office and my appeal is not low. You will have to perform well later. I will help you make an appointment with the examiner in advance, but I am boasting about Hikaru, saying you will definitely be popular. Igarashi Runa nodded and warned again. To be honest, she was a little uneasy, because Kurosawa Hikaru was extremely qualified in all aspects, but he wanted to be some kind of masked singer, and she didn't know what the censor's attitude would be. Try your best. Kurosawa Hikaru could tell that she was a little anxious and a little nervous. As the elevator went up, some staff members also walked in along the way. When they saw Igarashi Runa, they would politely say hello and call them senior. Finally, they reached the 17th floor and walked out. Wait a moment. Arriving at a door with the word censorship on it, Igarashi Runa stopped. What's wrong? Kurosawa Hikaru was a little puzzled. The review starts from the moment you enter the door. There are no methods or secrets. When it's your turn, just do as required. Igarashi Runa turned around, raised her arms to help him adjust his clothes and tie, and also gave instructions. As she helped arrange clothes and ties, Kurosawa's body tensed up. This kind of behavior is both intimate and ordinary. The key is that the opposite sex helps to sort out the clothes, which is quite a special feeling. Relax. Igarashi Runa was not very conscious about this, but after finishing it, she patted his arm. Good. Kurosawa took a deep breath and nodded. After being prepared, Igarashi Runa pushed the door open, followed closely by Kurosawa Hikaru. This room is very spacious, with various utensils placed. There are 7 people sitting on the wall next to the door, waiting on the benches next to the door. After taking a look at the environment, Kurosawa Hikaru noticed that Ms. Runa was in action, so he followed her and sat on an empty seat to wait. After being able to pause, Kurosawa Hikaru also took this opportunity to take stock of the situation in front of him. On the left side of the room, there is a long table, with 4 people sitting there, 2 men and 2 women. They are generally older, about 30 or 40 years old, and their aura looks unusual. Akiyuna. Before he could look at it for long, a sudden shout attracted Kurosawa's eyes. In the center of the room, in a 2-meter circle, a delicate-looking young man was performing. He knelt on the ground with his arms spread out, his expression was filled with grief and anger, and there were tears in the corners of his eyes, as if he was holding an injured woman. "Kayuna, don't sleep. I will take you to the hospital right away. You will be fine." He was there alone, like he was performing a crying scene. Because there was no one to act with, and the acting was mediocre, it looked quite awkward. Although he didn't understand the censorship rules very well, Kurosawa Hikaru looked at him and had an idea. "I'm afraid this might not pass the censorship." Waiting for the signal, Igarashi Runa pushed open the door and walked in, followed closely by Kurosawa Hikaru. Kurosawa Hikaru, who followed behind, found that this room was very large. There was a large table on the left, with 4 people sitting. "That's it?" At this moment, a woman wearing gold-rimmed glasses, black hair and white temples, with crow's feet at the corners of her eyes, and a serious look, looked very rigid and serious, but she had an extraordinary temperament and spoke. She looked very old, about 50 or 60 years old, but she was a beauty in her twilight years. It was not difficult to see her beautiful appearance when she was young. "You failed the review. Compared with 3 months ago, your acting skills have not improved at all. Come back after you have really improved." Then, a middle-aged uncle with a dignified appearance, neatly combed hair, and a very dignified look, with a tablet in front of him, crossed his hands and said seriously, "Teacher Oki, I haven't finished acting yet." The young actor who was acting was a little surprised when he heard this and said hurriedly, "The crying scene needs to be in place in 1 second. You didn't even brew it for more than 10 seconds. If you want to be promoted to the first class, you are not qualified at all." Teacher Oki knocked on the table with a pen and said indifferently. At this moment, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly felt a cool and slippery feeling on his arm. Oki Maeda, although he rarely acts now, he was a famous talent in the Showa era. As soon as he turned his head, he found Miss Runa's slender white arm close to him, whispering an introduction. Because the distance was a bit close, he could also smell a nice perfume. However, Kurosawa Hikaru did not get distracted, but remained calm and wrote down her introduction. "Teacher Oki, I." The young man still did not give up and wanted to fight for it again. "Let's go." However, his agent probably couldn't stand it anymore, so he stood up from the first position and walked over, holding his arm and pulling him up. "Next group." As they left, the woman with glasses said. Hearing this, the 5 people stood up together. They all looked very young, probably beautiful girls around 18 years old. As they stood up, the eyes of the examiners were instantly locked on them. These people, not only have been in high positions for many years, but also have experienced many storms and big scenes. They have a certain momentum, giving people a strong sense of oppression, making the 5 beautiful girls tense up. Please vote. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 84. Please stand in that circle. The 5 girls walked into the circle together. Their clothes looked light, but they were exquisite and shining, with some sequins, just like idols. But in front of the 4 examiners, they didn't have that shining side at all, just like ordinary people. At the same time, the examiner behind the table began to flip through the information. There was the sound of flipping papers and operating a tablet. The idol group Gozei Cai hopes to upgrade its resources to the second rate. Their most recent concert, sales exceeded the target, and all standards were met. They want a bigger stage performance. The review requirement is a new song, start your performance. After a few exchanges, the black-haired and white-haired girl with glasses spoke. This is Hamada Mia, who is good at singing and dancing. She is a senior who became famous a long time ago and is also one of the board members. You will play the piano later, and she will be the main examiner taking this opportunity, Igarashi Runa introduced again. It looks very strict. Kurosawa Hikaru felt that among the 4 examiners, the one with the most say was this Miss Hamada. Strictness is a good thing. They will not be partial to others and will speak with strength. Indeed. As they talked, the idol group 5 stars was also ready. They posed, and as the agent put the speakers next to them, they started singing. In that distant starry sky. This is a song that Kurosawa Hikaru has never heard of. Even though he had never heard of it, he could still tell that these people's singing level was average, whether it was the range, pitch, high and low notes, long notes, vibrato, and transitions, there were obvious deficiencies. But the dance they performed was still pretty good. In less than 5 minutes, the song was over. As the BGM gradually subsided, the 5 beautiful girls stopped on the stage, but they still did not forget to pose. Singing and dancing made them a little tired and out of breath, and sweating profusely, but after singing a song, they did not feel relaxed, but looked at the review team nervously. Congratulations, you passed the review, 2 votes passed. Finally, Hamada Mia spoke. Thank you very much, 4 teachers. After seeing this result, the 5 beautiful girls looked at each other, all of them were overjoyed, and then they bent down and bowed in unison. Youth is great. A middle-aged man with a Mediterranean face and a fat body touched his chin and was happy for them. The stage performance is good, but the singing skills need to be improved, especially the coordination of the transition is very poor. If you want to improve to the first class, in addition to popularity and various standards, you must first improve your own strength. Mia Hamada still had no expression, a calm look, just said lightly. Yes. After answering, the girl group went out under the guidance of the agent. Next group. After they left, Mia Hamada spoke again. Her voice was clear and powerful, calm and steady. With this greeting, Kurosawa Hikaru was poked by Igarashi Runa's elbow and stood up. In an instant, 4 eyes focused on him. However, this level of gaze could not bring any sense of oppression to Kurosawa Hikaru. Please stand in the circle in the center. In response to this request, Kurosawa Hikaru calmly walked into the circle and faced the review team. Seeing his orderly steps, calm expression, and state, the review team nodded silently. When he arrived, the review team began to look through the pages and notebooks. This is a newcomer brought by Miss Igarashi, who is directly involved in the resource review and is mainly a singer. Looks, a grade. Body, a grade. Temperament, a grade. 20 years old, Tokyo University, with a self-made academic personality. What a good seedling, Miss Igarashi has picked up a treasure again. Such evaluations and exchanges were not concealed, but said directly. Obviously, the review team had a very good first impression of Kurosawa Hikaru. Seeing this scene, the artists who came in later were all a little amazed. However, he sat in place and looked at Kurosawa Hikaru's image, and he also agreed. This guy is very fierce, and he is a newcomer recruited by Miss Igarashi. He is really amazing. Kurosawa Hikaru. Hamada Mia was also somewhat interested when she saw this information, and shouted, and the emotionless voice was a little more expectant. Here. Kurosawa Hikaru knew that she was the main examiner, and responded with a slight smile. The application said that you are good at piano and singing. Please perform the piano first, choose a song by yourself, and then I will choose one for you. Seeing his smile, Hamada Mia nodded slightly and stretched out her hand to indicate a piano next to her. In this house, all kinds of musical instruments are available, and the space is wide enough for actors, singers, and dancers to perform to their heart's content. Then I will show my ugliness. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded, then bowed slightly to the 4 examiners, and then straightened up and walked to the piano next to him. When he came to the piano, he did not sit down directly, but stroked the piano with one hand. For a while, the continuous sound of the piano resounded in the house. This is not a performance, nor is it a musical performance. The piano sound is very loud, even disturbing to the ears. If you want to explain its purpose, it seems like it is a sound test. Unlike in the restaurant, he had just finished listening to someone else's performance. He was not familiar with this piano and needed to test the sound first. What is your song? Although others were a little dissatisfied with his sudden action, Hamada Mia didn't care, but looked at his slender fingers. My song is Flight of the Bumblebee. After doing this, Kurosawa Hikaru sat down in front of the piano, responded, raised his arms, and slowly settled down. The next moment, without waiting for a response, the passionate and fierce piano sound exploded. The melody of the song is extremely fast, and it is even more explosive, and the performance began. This is the piano music he heard when he played Rhythm Master in his previous life, which is also an enlightenment for him. Considering the censorship, he has checked it these days and wants to listen to it again, but it seems that there is no pianist Maxim in this world, and even lacks many modern pianists, so his version cannot be found. But the original song of Flight of the Bumblebee created by Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov, still exists in history. With his impression and memory, plus repeated listening and looking through the music scores on the internet, he was confident that he could reproduce the Flight of the Bumblebee played by Maxim to a great extent. Wow! Igarashi Runa stared at Kurosawa Hikaru sitting in front of the piano with shining eyes. She didn't know much about piano music, so she didn't have any idea how great this piece of music was, but the moment the piano sounded, she only felt something exploded in her heart, and a tingling sensation spread all over her body. Passionate, surging, and extremely fast melody, apart from the classical and elegant feeling of piano music, gave her a feeling of listening to modern rock, with an intense but not chaotic rhythm, and her body was in rhythm as her fingertips ran. Mia Hamada sat behind the table, although she didn't move, but she was holding a pen tightly in her hand and tapping it gently, her eyes kept looking at those hands. Genius. At this moment, this impression was the only one in her mind. Pitch, rhythm, dynamics, impact, this is a piano piece adapted from a famous piece, and the adaptation is perfect. The piano skills that are almost virtuosic really amazed her. Such superb piano skills can even be compared with some pianists she knows. What's more terrifying is that this child is only 20 years old, and at this age he can be compared with those pianists, and he can even compose music, with unlimited potential. The third update is here, please vote, please read it, it will be available on the 1st of next month, and there will be a burst of updates after it is available. Please don't support the book. Zayashu would like to thank you all here. Tokyo's most affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 85. After playing the song, Kurosawa Hikaru stopped. Although this was his first time playing, he had tried playing it many times in his mind. Pa 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 pa. As he stopped playing and put his hands away, the other three judges all applauded. Perhaps not all of them understand piano, but even laymen can feel the charm of Kurosawa Hikaru playing the piano. With this appearance and piano skills, this young man will definitely be popular. Seeing this scene, Igarashi Runa was also a little happy. Sure enough, when he was in the restaurant that day, Kurosawa Hikaru only tried his hand and did not fully show his strength. Did you adapt this by yourself or by someone else? Hamada Mia took a deep breath and asked to calm herself down as much as possible. Myself. Seeing the uncontrollable joy on her face, Kurosawa Hikaru secretly breathed a sigh of relief and answered. There is no Maxim in this world, and his version, because it is a solo without the accompaniment of other instruments, cannot be fully reproduced, and can only be filled and modified to a certain extent based on his own level. In the eyes of experts, this piano piece is not difficult to play, it is just a simple show of skill and speed. For laymen, flight of the bumblebee is very impactful and has a strong charm. The almost crazy rhythm, like rock and roll, can ignite people's passion. Next, I will choose the song. The melody of the song you chose is so fast, so just perform Nocturne. As for the number, you can do it at will. Mia Hamilton nodded slightly, then clenched the pen in her hand, shook it a few times, and made a request after thinking. Okay, before continuing the performance, I have a condition that I want to make clear first. Hearing this request, Kurosawa Mitsuru nodded slightly, and thought that the time was almost right, so he stood up and spoke. Those pianists who died early in their lives all exist in history, including Chopin. The skill of piano entry not only allows him to have the theory and experience of ordinary people playing for decades or even a lifetime, but also includes most piano pieces. Chopin is a mountain that cannot be bypassed in the piano world, and his works are naturally involved. Conditions. Hamada Mia, who was already eager to hear him continue to play, heard this and glanced at Igarashi Runa at the door. I want to be a masked singer, that is, a singer who does not show his face and does not reveal his true identity. Kurosawa Hikaru stood up and faced the four judges. If you become popular and famous, you need to hold a concert, and fans want you to show up. Will you show up? Hearing this, Okimata was a little surprised and asked immediately. I hope to wear a mask when the time comes. Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head slightly. Being a singer is just an attempt he made based on his own skills. Miss Runa's pursuit and hospitality are one of the reasons why he chose to be a singer, but not all. He just doesn't want to be limited to a life where he can only bury his head in studying and work after graduation, but to experience all kinds of life and see scenery that he could not see before. You look so outstanding, why do you have to hide? Okimata wanted to know his reason. I don't want my private life to be disturbed. Don't you think this is contradictory? You want to be an idol, but you don't want to be disturbed. It's indeed contradictory, but I don't want to be an idol, but an artist. You have such outstanding looks, plus such talent, you can become popular with a little effort, and you can also make a lot of money. Being a masked singer is completely self-defeating. Are you that? Don't want to rely on your face, just rely on your talent. No, it's just that my focus is not on being a singer, but on life. Don't rely on your face to make a living? Rely on talent? Kurosawa Hikaru doesn't have such a showy idea. One of the reasons why he didn't want to be a star at first was that as a public figure, a star would be paid attention to by people, but more because he felt that he didn't have the ability to be one. But now it's different. Since he has talent, being an artist is also an option. He even conceived a masked image. You haven't even made your debut yet, you're just an unknown person, do you think you're qualified to make conditions? Hearing this, Hamada Mia finally couldn't help it, her face that couldn't hide her joy turned cold, and she asked coldly. What a joke, all artists who debuted, including her, were obedient, endured all kinds of pressure and unreasonable demands, and unfair treatment, and then slowly got through and had the capital to communicate with the company. This cold and angry rebuke scared everyone, and they didn't dare to say anything for a while, all looking at her. Why not qualified? Before signing the contract, it should be discussed clearly, both parties have the right to speak, and after mutual negotiation, both sides can accept the results, which is called cooperation. Kurosawa Hikaru's face changed, and he found that her attitude was so overbearing, narrowed his eyes, and said coldly. Igarashi. Hearing this, Hamada Mia didn't want to argue with him, but looked at Igarashi at the door, with a bad and dissatisfied look. Here being glared at by her, Igarashi Runa stood up a little stiffly. Originally, based on his overall quality and talent, as long as he performed better, I planned to give him first-class resources to start, and accept him as an apprentice and personally guide him. As long as he passes the market inspection, he may even be upgraded to the top class. But no matter how good he is at the piano or how good he is at singing, if he insists on not showing his face and has no intention of focusing on his career, the company will at most give him a third-rate resource review result, or not sign a contract. Hamada Mia's attitude was very firm and even more angry. However, the meaning behind her words was also very straightforward. As long as Kurosawa Hikaru was willing to show his face, everything would be easy. Igarashi Runa looked at Kurosawa Hikari, and then at her furious look, not knowing what to say. Looking at your expression, you are not surprised at all by his conditions, you still dare to bring him in for review even though you know it is like this. Your ability to do things is really getting worse and worse. The review ends here. Wait until he realizes it. Continue with today's review. Hamada Mia's mood hadn't completely calmed down yet, she settled the matter firmly and unkindly, and saw off the guests. Excuse me. Facing one of the members of the board of directors, Igarashi Runa had no right to refute or protest. She could only bow her head and apologize, and then wave to Kurosawa Hikaru. Reminded by this action, Kurosawa Hikaru also followed her footsteps and walked out of the room together. Actually, you can sign him. If he wants to be a masked singer, let him be one. Even if he can't be given first-rate resources, he can still be cultivated if he is given second-rate or third-rate resources. Seeing him walking out, the other censors couldn't help but say. He has the potential to become a top-notch person, but he is unwilling to be one. He dares to raise conditions before he even joins the industry. It will be harder to control him once he becomes popular. As long as he is willing to bow his head, be obedient, and comply with all the company's requirements and conditions, I am confident that he will be popular. Hamada Mia shook her head and disagreed with this. Coercion and inducement. What if he gets signed by another company? Oimeda suggested the worst possibility. Then it depends on Igarashi's performance. She already knows the value of Kurosawa Hikaru, and I believe she will help us bring this person into the company. Hearing this statement, Hamada Mia's eyes fixed behind her glasses, and then she said with luck. She had already directly stated the value of Kurosawa Hikaru just now, and believed that Igarashi, a gold medal manager, would not disappoint. After all, this Kurosawa Hikaru is a child who has not left school and has never been beaten by society, so he has such naive ideas and thinks that he is qualified to make conditions. But Igarashi is an elite who has been working for many years. She has even experienced a lot of ups and downs and has shown very professional abilities. Presumably she will realize her mistakes and bring back Hikari Kurosawa. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 86. Different from the relaxed and happy mood when they entered the company, the two of them were silent all the way until they got in the car. Sorry, Igarashi Runa, who was holding the steering wheel and had been silent for a long time, said. Why are you saying sorry? Kurosawa Hikaru was also very upset, but he didn't understand why she said that. I should have asked clearly at the beginning. After knowing your wishes, I should have corrected the plan in time. Instead of reviewing it, I should have directly signed the contract as a newcomer and made my debut first. It was my lack of professional skills that allowed you to be tortured by that old woman. Had a meal. Igarashi Runa shook his head, thinking that he had neglected his duty. With Kurosawa Hikaru's ability, even if he is a masked and mysterious singer, it is definitely not a problem for him to become famous even if he is not famous. Well. Igarashi Runa leaned her head on the steering wheel, dejected, no longer as heroic as when they met after school. Kurosawa Hikaru sat in the passenger seat and looked sideways at her without saying a word as he gradually calmed down. Miss Runa. After thinking for a long time, Kurosawa Hikaru called her name. Sorry, let's go, have a meal and relax. Igarashi Runa came back to her senses, straightened her back, held the steering wheel tightly and forced herself to smile. Although the dilemma was terrible, it was not something Kurosawa Hikaru should consider. She had to bear the consequences. Even if you have to worry about it, wait until you get home in the evening and figure it out alone. Do you want to be the boss? Seeing her appearance, Kurosawa Hikaru made up his mind and spoke. Be the boss. Igarashi Runa, who was about to start the car, raised her head and looked at him in surprise after hearing this. You will be your boss and your manager. Sign me to be your first artist and we will cooperate. Kurosawa nodded slightly and affirmed. You mean, let me open a firm? Igarashi Runa wondered if she heard wrongly. What kind of super expansion is this? She had just been scolded by her boss, and was going to fire her boss and start her own business. You are a golden agent that others will respect as your senior, but in front of the board of directors, you are just a worker after all. You will do whatever the boss wants you to do. If your business is successful, you will no longer have to look at other people's faces. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded and said decisively. Based on the experience just now, he already felt that there was absolutely no future in working part-time. It is impossible to work part-time. If you want to not be dependent on others and act based on others' faces, then you have to be the boss and conquer everything with your strength. How can it be so easy to open a firm? This industry has long been saturated. In recent years, no new firms have developed at all. They have basically either closed down or been annexed. Igarashi Runa spread her hands, feeling that this proposal was unrealistic. Listen to me first. Seeing that she disagreed, Kurosawa could only say. Good. What is your current annual income? The basic salary is 8 million per year, plus the performance commission brought to me by Rika Fujiwara, it's about 20 million. Within 2 years, I can get you back to the salary, or even higher. Tell me about it. Seeing that he was serious and not joking, Igarashi Runa was a little moved. What do you think of my strength? Kurosawa Hikaru did not tell the plan directly, but asked first. According to Old Lady Hamada's opinion, you have the potential to become a top player. But apart from your appearance, I can't say. I don't know how to play piano, but I think you are pretty good. Igarashi Runa held her chin, recalling Hamada Miya's reaction just now, and said. In fact, this was the first time she had seen the old woman Hamada act so rude. I'm afraid that old woman really felt that Kurosawa Hikaru was a good prospect, even more potential than the original Fujiwara Rika, but she found out that he made conditions before he debuted, and the condition was that he didn't intend to show up, and he didn't intend to focus on his career. Was so angry. What if my singing skills are really better than the karaoke singer? Kurosawa nodded and added, letting her imagine. That's awesome. As long as you have a few good songs, you can become famous at any time. Regarding this possibility, Igarashi Runa said without thinking. In fact, singers are more likely to become famous than film and television actors, movie actors, drama actors, and dancers. Because other actors need corresponding careers and thresholds to be known by people. But singers are different. As long as they sing some divine songs, they may become popular all over the country and even the world. You must know that music can be listened to anytime and anywhere, such as during exercise, work, and study. It can appear in most situations. As for others, it requires a certain amount of time and attention. Moreover, neon is very popular with music. So far, the size of the physical music market is the largest in the world. The biggest advantage of singing and music compared to other media is that it is easier to attract people. Are you serious? After subconsciously answering, Igarashi Runa suddenly came back to her senses when she thought of the potential in it. Only after listening to the karaoke singer's songs can I confidently tell you that I am better than him. Kurosawa Hikaru saw that she never believed it and was not surprised, so he just said. So far, he has never sung in front of Miss Runa, so it is normal for her not to believe him. Didn't you say that you just hum a few words as usual? Igarashi Runa swallowed her saliva excitedly and couldn't help but said. Is there a possibility that I am a genius? Kurosawa Hikaru didn't know how to explain this, so he could only say. Let's go to karaoke tonight. I'll talk about the plan after I hear you sing. Thinking of his piano level, Igarashi Runa gritted his teeth and decided to learn more about this matter. Who wants to be an employee if they can be a boss? No need, I can sing it for you now, just follow the song sung by the karaoke god, I will imitate him, you listen. Do you want to sing Lemon? Ahem. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't say anything, just coughed a few times. The next moment, his mouth opened slightly, his Adam's apple moved slightly, and he sang. How nice it would be if all this was a dream. I can still meet you in my dreams. As he started singing, the deep and magnetic voice startled Igarashi Runa on the spot, his eyes widened, and his red lips painted with bright lipstick even opened into an O shape. This guy is really not kidding, he sang exactly the same as the karaoke god, or even better. Oh my god, where did Chizuru find this treasure? This Kurosawa Hikaru is handsome, has a good personality, knows how to dress, read, play the piano, and sing. How can there be such a strong man? Do you want to order a song? Any song is fine, let me listen to it once, I can sing it for you. After singing a song, Kurosawa Hikaru met her shocked and excited eyes and said with a smile. He was actually a little angry about what happened just now, so he was going to get serious. Just sing a few more songs. Igarashi Runa clenched her fists and her body trembled, but this was not fear, but excitement and excitement. In this way, she was no longer serious in the company, and she was no longer as a gold medal agent and elite sister. She was just like a particularly excited girl. Seeing her cute appearance, Kurosawa Hikaru smiled and sang a few more songs, changing the style to let her know that he could sing all styles of songs. This is a fact. The ability of the entry-level voice is terrible. His singing skills are better than most singers. Okay, I'll quit this job and elope with you. After he finished singing 5 songs, Igarashi Runa suddenly punched and made up her mind. Isn't the term elopement a bit strange? Just kidding, I won't say that in front of Chizuru. Let me tell you about the plan. Tell me quickly. Igarashi Runa was so excited that she seemed to have seen Kurosawa Hikaru become famous and she was sitting in an office chair counting money as a boss. I'd like to explain that the comment sections of various websites have been blocked recently, so before this period is over, there will be no new chapters, and they will only be displayed when the time comes. Also, I want to ask, are there any female readers of this book? Are there any? Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 87. At night, an izakaya in Shibuya. After another invitation and explanation of the location, at 7 o'clock, Ninomiya Chizuru successfully joined them. She had just come out of school and had not yet gone home to change clothes. She was still wearing the school clothes, a shirt, and a black tight skirt. She had a cool temperament and looked very charming. The biggest advantage of izakayas over other stores lies in the private rooms. Around a small table, Ninomiya Chizuru sat next to Igarashi Runa, her beautiful legs wrapped in black stockings crossed and sitting sideways, very eye-catching. How was the interview today? As she sat down, Ninomiya Chizuru found that the two people were silent, so she spoke first. She was a step late, so she was not very clear about what happened to the two people. It performed well at the beginning, but it was not good after I put forward the conditions. Kurosawa Hikaru glanced at her beautiful legs, retracted his gaze before being discovered, and said, "What conditions did you put forward? I don't want to show my face, and I don't want to reveal my true identity as Kurosawa Hikaru, who is studying economics at the University of Tokyo." "Ah. Why? You want to be an artist, but you don't want to show your face." When Ninomiya Chizuru heard this condition, she was stunned. "Very strange," Kurosawa Hikaru asked when she saw her reaction. "Very strange." Ninomiya Chizuru nodded, very sure of this, but she didn't say what was in her heart. He is so handsome and is a material for being a star, but he doesn't plan to show his face. What's the purpose? In fact, he thought that if fans knew that he was Kurosawa Hikaru, his personal life would be monitored by reporters. He wanted to be like today, and meeting you outside of school would be exposed. Seeing that she didn't understand, Igarashi Runa leaned close to her ear and whispered. After learning the reason, Ninomiya Chizuru was stunned for a moment, glanced at Kurosawa Hikaru, and her mood was a little complicated and fluctuating for a while, and she didn't know what to say. "You didn't see it? Kurosawa's piano piece was so amazing that I was shocked. I didn't expect his level to be so high." Skipping this topic, Igarashi Runa sighed. "Better than that day in the restaurant. Even better. I don't think he played to his full potential that day. Is your piano so good?" Ninomiya Chizuru looked at Kurosawa Hikaru in surprise. She could feel that Runa was not exaggerating, but really thought so. "It's okay." Kurosawa Hikaru was looked at by her surprised eyes, and felt a little happy in his heart, and his vanity was satisfied, and he said modestly, "It's because his piano skills are so good and his overall quality is so high, but he refuses to show up. Old lady Hamada thinks he is making a fuss. She even said something harsh, saying that he either shows up or forgets about signing with Phantom Star Agency. No wonder others think so, it's such a waste. Then, I decided that I would quit my job and start my own business." After explaining the situation, Igarashi Runa suddenly stood up and announced impatiently. Hearing this, Ninomiya Chizuru was immediately full of question marks. "What's going on? Is what you just said related to what you are talking about now? But you started working as an agent before you graduated from college, and you worked hard for so many years to get promoted to this level." Ninomiya Chizuru felt that she was crazy and reminded her. "It is only after so many years of hard work that I can clearly realize that no matter how hard I work, no matter how positive I am still a worker, not a boss. But your salary is so high, looking at the whole of Japan, you are one of the most elite people. No matter how high the salary is, it is paid by others, but being a boss means paying salaries to others. Starting a business is not that simple, and if the business fails, it will be very troublesome. Bang. Don't worry, I am fully confident that this is definitely a bright way." Igarashi Runa stepped on the small table with one foot, full of fighting spirit. Maybe because she is a fashion expert, she also did a manicure. Her feet were painted with blue nail polish, which looked shiny and beautiful. Although she was standing high, she was wearing hot pants, so there was no risk of exposure. "Are you drunk?" "I haven't even started drinking yet, how can I be drunk?" As they talked crazily, Kurosawa Hikaru sat opposite without saying a word. "What is going on now?" "Ha ha ha, I'll tell you slowly." Seeing that she couldn't understand at all, Igarashi Runa smiled, calmed down a little, and told her everything that happened in the car from beginning to end. "So you are the culprit." While listening to the explanation, Ninomiya Chizuru learned that it was Kurosawa Hikaru who first proposed to be the boss. She couldn't help but glance at Kurosawa Hikaru. Although she didn't say anything, her meaning was very clear. Not long after, she finally finished telling the story. "Is Kurosawa's singing really that good?" Ninomiya Chizuru was a little surprised. To be honest, Kurosawa Hikaru is very good at playing the piano, which surprised her enough. "I'm not kidding you, he imitated the karaoke god to sing, and his singing was almost exactly the same, or even better, and he randomly selected a few songs and sang them super well. Post the video on the internet first. Is this really possible? The video of the karaoke god was not specially produced. It was just recorded and edited a little and released. It has won more than 2 million views, and this is without the promotion of the team and the bonus of fame. If it is Kurosawa, he plays the piano and sings specifically for the production of videos, and I help him to promote and operate. As long as it is done well, it may be popular all over the internet and directly make him famous. If you think it can be done, then do it. Speaking of which, I don't have much experience in starting a company. I am only good at communicating with various companies and discussing event cooperation. I guess I need your help in many places. Ninomiya Chizuru fell into deep thought when she heard this request. We can really do it? Kurosawa, come and sing 2 songs for Chizuru to open her eyes. Igarashi Runa thought she didn't believe it when she found out that she was considering it, so she immediately greeted her. No, I believe in your judgment and his ability, it's just that I have my own job and may not have so much time to help. Ninomiya Chizuru was not actually doubting it, but she still had things to do. You should continue to be a teacher and come to help occasionally. Okay. Also, we may need your investment in the early stage of opening a company. At the end, Igarashi Runa also showed her true colors and made the most critical request. She knew better than anyone how much money Chizuru had in her hands. She was a small rich woman. Isn't Miss Runa's annual salary 20 million? Don't you have any savings? Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised. I bought a house and a car, so there's not much left. Okay. Ninomiya Chizuru realized the situation, looked at Runa, then looked at Kurosawa Hikaru, and after thinking for a while, she nodded. In fact, if the person Runa relied on was not Kurosawa Hikaru, but someone else, she would definitely not accompany Runa to go crazy, but let her be an honest agent. After all, such a high salary job is not easy to come by. By the way, I still have 6 million in savings. As she agreed, Kurosawa Hikaru also added a sentence. 6 million? Where did you get so much money? Igarashi Runa was stunned when she heard this and was immediately shocked. I saved it from working part-time as a tutor. I didn't realize you were a small rich man. Realizing that he also had start-up capital, Igarashi Runa felt it was a pleasant surprise. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 88. With the funding problem solved, outstanding talents, and the resources and business capabilities she has at hand, Igarashi Runa feels that opening a company will be the best decision in her life. Kurosawa, what do you think is a better name for our office? Runa Igarashi, whose excitement could not be calmed down, put one foot on the table and looked at Kurosawa Hikari. Stars. Kurosawa thought for a while and picked up a random one. Since he wants to open a company, it is impossible for him to be an artist alone, and he will definitely accept many artists in the future. This name has been used for a long time. However, Igarashi Runa turned around and passed. It's not that I feel bad, it's just that there are so many firms in the industry that basically all the good names have been used. The mountains are not high, as long as there are immortals, they are famous. I don't know much about the situation of firms in the industry. It's up to you to decide. Realizing this situation, Kurosawa Hikaru thought for a while and said. What you said is very good. Igarashi Runa thinks his words are very cool. If he is interviewed in the future, saying it will definitely be very effective. Excuse me, have you decided what you want to order? At this moment, the curtain was gently opened, and a waitress walked in and asked. Neon's Izakaya is actually a tavern, a place that provides some meals and drinks. With the arrival of the waiter, Igarashi Runa came to her senses and sat down again. It didn't take long for them to order the dishes. Want to drink? Ninomiya Chizuru was a little surprised when she saw the waiter walking out. Because today is a historic moment, July 15th, I think I will remember this day for the rest of my life, Igarashi Runa nodded. What about the car you drove here? Leave it for one night and open it again tomorrow. Kurosawa is also an adult, so he will drink some later. All right. Seeing her overly excited look, Ninomiya Chizuru felt like she couldn't hold her back. Not long after, the food and drinks were served, including manyayaki, skewers, and rice bowls. At the wine table, even though Igarashi Runa had an alarming amount of alcohol because she had been socializing and running business all year round, she couldn't help but drink too much. What are you doing? I run around outside every day, exposed to wind and sun, traveling all over the country, and you end up scolding me in front of so many people. Don't you want to lose face? You have little contact with her, so you don't know how difficult that old Hamada woman is. Whenever Kurosawa becomes popular and Huansine comes to ask for cooperation, I will definitely make her look good. And that Toto, he looks lewd every time he sees me, and wants to invite me out for dinner. He doesn't even look in the mirror to see his Mediterranean, middle-aged look. It's really a joke. Perhaps once she had an epiphany and made up her mind, all the resentment she had accumulated in her heart burst out. From 7 o'clock to nearly 10 o'clock, Igarashi Runa was completely drunk. As for Kurosawa Hikaru and Ninomiya Chizuru, because they don't have so much resentment, they don't need to drink to drown their sorrows. They don't drink much and are very clear-headed. Feel sorry. Seeing Runa lying on the table, drunk, Ninomiya Chizuru reached out and touched her head and said, "It doesn't matter, it's okay if she can vent it out." Kurosawa Hikaru sat opposite, looking at the drunk Miss Runa. His voice was very soft and a little distressed. Why did you suddenly think of telling her about starting a business and becoming the boss? Although there were 3 people in the room, because one of them was drunk, Ninomiya Chizuru also had the opportunity to talk to him alone. Because of various reasons, the most fundamental reason is the right to speak and dignity. Kurosawa thought for a while and replied. Voice and dignity. Ninomiya Chizuru was a little surprised and felt that this statement was not simple. Originally, I wanted to join her company and become an artist casually. But I saw her speechless because of me being lectured by her boss. I felt that life shouldn't be like this. After thinking about it carefully, I decided to start a business with her. Kurosawa nodded, picked up the wine glass and took another sip. In his previous life, because he didn't study hard in high school and just had fun, his grades were too poor and he couldn't get into college. He simply went to work in a factory after graduation. But working in a factory is not a pleasant feeling. The working hours are long, the salary is very low, and the superiors and team leaders are as arrogant as the king of heaven. They will come over to scold you from time to time, as if doing so can show their strength. Powerful and majestic. He has changed jobs several times, with similar pay and conditions. Without a diploma, it is really difficult for him to move forward in society. It was precisely because of this experience that after he was reborn in Nihon, he decided from an early age to study hard and get admitted to Tokyo University. After graduation, I can find a job with my diploma, become an elite and stand out, marry a beautiful wife, and live my life without regrets. For such a goal, he had lived indifferently before this. Even if a girl chases after her and sends her love letters, he doesn't care and just concentrates on studying. But today at Huansing office, when he saw Miss Runa being reprimanded, he suddenly realized, even if he became a white-collar elite, he still couldn't escape the consequences of being reprimanded by his superiors as long as he didn't do something well. It's really uncomfortable to be lectured by a superior. Ninomiya Chizuru also felt this. Thinking of Runa's complaint when she was drinking just now, she felt the same way. When she didn't do something well in school, her superiors would punish her mercilessly. If you don't want to be scolded or stepped on by others, being a boss is indeed the way to go. The most important thing is, I want to prove to them that even if I leave Magic Star and am not signed by her company, Ms. Runa can still make me popular. Not signing me will be the worst decision of their company's life. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded, feeling resentful in his heart. In fact, when Hamada asked him if he thought being a singer was easy, he really wanted to reply, but because of Miss Runa, he still didn't say it. He has crazy capital and a system to help him. Maybe he still has an entry-level singing voice now, but in the future it won't necessarily be proficient, or even perfect at the so-called human limit. I look forward to your success. Realizing that they started a company not only to start a business, but also to escape from the current situation, Ninomiya Chizuru smiled. It takes courage to quit a job with an annual salary of 20 million and take this step. In the past, Runa, no matter how much he was reprimanded by his superiors or made unreasonable demands, he would only complain and never resign. Obviously, Kurosawa Hikaru's talent gave Runa the courage. Although it was not given to her but to Runa, as a close friend, she was also happy for it from the bottom of her heart. If this path succeeds, Runa will become a better person, and so will Kurosawa. She still thinks that what major to study in college is only a temporary choice, not a lifelong choice. Looking forward to it, you have to help me too. Runa wants to open a company, I will definitely help. Wish us success, cheers. Seeing that she wanted to participate, Kurosawa immediately picked up a glass of beer. You still want to drink? Ninomiya Chizuru rolled her eyes at him, a little annoyed. Does this guy also want to get drunk? Then I won't drink. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't like drinking very much, so he immediately put it down after being swept away by her soft eyes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 89. Friday night was very lively. Even though it was 10 o'clock, people were still coming and going in Shibuya. Kurosawa Hikaru carried Igarashi Runa on his back and walked out of the izakaya. Ninomiya Chizuru helped carry a pair of high heels and followed beside him. On the way to the subway station, Igarashi Runa, who was completely drunk, rested her face on Kurosawa Hikaru's shoulder, as if she was having a sweet dream. Kurosawa, you are great. Her words were somewhat slurred and smelled of alcohol. Hearing these words, Kurosawa Hikaru's body froze and he looked at Ninomiya Chizuru with some embarrassment. It's true that Runa talks nonsense when she's drunk. Ninomiya Chizuru didn't speak, but had a smile on her face. That smile has no smile at all. Seeing this smile, Kurosawa Hikaru felt a chill go down his spine. Fortunately, the person she was carrying was Ms. Runa. If it had been anyone else, she would have been absolutely angry. Although teacher Ninomiya's attitude has always been that I don't like you, we are a teacher-student relationship, but the system has long revealed her true intentions, and she has a good impression of herself. And this good feeling has heated up a lot since their date at the amusement park last Saturday. How about taking a taxi back? The frightened Kurosawa Hikaru felt that continuing like this was not an option, so he suggested. Just carry it to the subway station. After arriving at the station, you still have to carry it some way home. During this period, if Miss Runa made a joke about elopement, it would be over. It's not urgent. Taking a taxi is a waste of money. Just take the subway back. Ninomiya Chizuru shook her head, not agreeing with this proposal at all. Although she was a little concerned, Kurosawa Hikaru was carrying Runa on his back and holding Runa's thighs with both hands, and Runa was still saying such misleading words. But just because of this, it is not cost-effective to take a taxi. There were no accidents on the street. They took the subway, got off at the designated stop, and finally successfully delivered it to their doorstep, which was a two-story duplex house with a garden and walls. Being able to buy such a house in Tokyo, even though it is not in the city center, it can be seen that Runa Igarashi is a successful elite. This is Runa's home. Ninomiya Chizuru used the key to open the iron gate of the fence, then walked in and opened the door inside. As a close friend, she naturally has the key to this house. What are you doing standing there? Soon, she opened the door of the house again, turned around and found that Kurosawa Hikaru was still standing there, and she was confused. Do I still want to go in? Kurosawa Hikaru stood at the door, a little confused. He's delivered it to his doorstep, and the teacher is here, so it should be fine. It's been such a long journey, why not go to the end? Makes sense. Kurosawa Hikaru thought for a moment, then walked in with Igarashi Runa on his back. The house was quite spacious. Kurosawa Hikaru took off his shoes and carried people upstairs. Done. After placing Miss Runa on the bed, Kurosawa finally unloaded the goods and stretched his muscles. Fortunately, there is a system to strengthen the body, otherwise, carrying a drunk and unconscious person for such a long distance would probably be exhausted. Thanks for your hard work. Ninomiya Chizuru turned on the light in the bedroom and brought him a glass of water. How much does this house cost? Kurosawa Hikaru took a sip of water, moistened his throat, and looked at the rather large bedroom with some curiosity. The total amount is 75 million. It's so expensive, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but mutter. Tokyo's housing prices are really no joke. She discovered Rika Fujiwara when she first entered the industry. She was at the peak of her career after her debut. Her net worth continued to increase as an artist. After saving for so many years, she bought it in full last year. Ninomiya Chizuru nodded, also feeling that the value was very expensive. Well. During the conversation, Igarashi Runa turned around, probably because she was lying uncomfortably. Her big white legs looked very eye-catching. Seeing this scene, Kurosawa Hikaru felt that it was inappropriate and turned around to leave. Don't go. I've already touched it. What does it matter if I look at it a few times? Seeing his actions, Ninomiya Chizuru said. Oh, Kurosawa thought for a moment and then stopped. You really plan to watch it? Seeing that he turned around and really wanted to stay, Ninomiya Chizuru looked at him straight. I'll wait outside. Discovering that she was telling the truth, Kurosawa Hikaru quickly ran away as the situation was not going well. It was obvious that she was still jealous and suffocating in her heart. After a few minutes, Ninomiya Chizuru opened the door and walked out. Kurosawa Hikaru leaned against the wall and waited. When he saw her coming out, he also adjusted his posture and stood straighter. Sorry, I'm a little drunk. Seeing his actions, Ninomiya Chizuru hesitated for a few seconds, and then apologized for what had just happened. It doesn't matter, I was also drunk and a little dizzy. Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head and didn't care at all. He should have avoided the situation just now. The atmosphere was a little awkward because of the little conflict just now. I'm staying here tonight. She's drunk, so I'm not worried. I'll take you to the subway station. Ninomiya Chizuru pointed to the room behind her and said. No, you can send me there later, and I'll be even more worried if you have to come back. Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head. There was no way to send girls to the subway station. Moreover, it was already night, and it would be bad if an accident happened if Mr. Ninomiya, who was a little drunk, walked here from the subway station for 10 minutes. Then I'll take you to the door. Ninomiya Chizuru thought about it and it was right, then raised her hand. Okay, Kurosawa nodded. After saying that, he stepped forward and took the lead down the stairs. As for Ninomiya Chizuru, she naturally followed behind. Just as he was going down the stairs, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly heard an exclamation from behind. Hearing this sudden cry, Kurosawa Hikaru subconsciously turned around. But before he could see clearly, something pressed on his back. That was Ninomiya Chizuru, lying on his back. This situation made Kurosawa Hikaru subconsciously bend down slightly to support her, half-backed. "I'm a little dizzy, can you carry me downstairs?" Ninomiya Chizuru lay on his back and whispered. Her voice was soft and a little hesitant, obviously a little shy. Hearing this, if Kurosawa Hikaru still doesn't understand what's going on, he's really going to live like a dog. Kurosawa didn't make a sound, just bent down, and when she lay completely on her back, he held her thighs with both hands and stood up. Different from the time when she was carried on her back in the amusement park, because she was wearing black stockings today, the touch from the palms holding her thighs, smooth and fine sand, was completely different from her skin. There are very few steps to walk from the second floor to the first floor, and you are there in a blink of an eye. However, neither of them spoke during this stretch, only the sound of slight breathing, footsteps, and heartbeats. "Is it easier to carry her, or me?" After arriving on the first floor, Ninomiya Chizuru spoke. "Of course it's easier and more comfortable to carry you. Ms. Runa was completely drunk and didn't cooperate with me," Kurosawa Hikaru said matter-of-factly. "What's comfortable? Don't talk nonsense." Ninomiya Chizuru was a little embarrassed and lightly hit his shoulder with her fist in protest. "Ha ha ha." Kurosawa smiled, carried her to the entrance, and then put her down. "Stay safe and message me when you get home." Standing on the ground again, Ninomiya Chizuru ruffled her hair before he turned around and said, "I know, you should go to bed early." Kurosawa Hikaru turned around and saw her face was slightly red. He didn't know whether it was shyness or drunkenness, but he nodded with a smile. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 90. When I got home, it was already 11 o'clock in the evening. "I'm home." As soon as he entered the house, Kurosawa Hikaru took off his shoes, took out his mobile phone and sent a message. As soon as the message was sent, it instantly became red. Immediately afterwards, Ninomiya Chizuru replied with a very brief message. Even so, Kurosawa Hikaru didn't care. It is not difficult to guess that Miss Ninomiya may not know how to respond. "Good night." "Good night." After saying good night to each other, Kurosawa Hikaru took another look, and there was Xiaoyuki's message. These messages were sent starting at 1800 hours. "Brother Guang, is school over? Eaten dinner yet? Let's eat rice bowl tonight. Brother Guang, you seem to like rice bowl very much," with a photo attached. "After school, I bought a few new sets of clothes. Which one do you think looks good?" Attached are 3 photos. "Are you busy?" Just as Kurosawa Hikaru was going through each item one by one, another message came over. "Brother Guang, are you done?" Obviously, Xiaoyuki may have been staring at their chat page and noticed that the message became red. "Yeah, just got home. Brother Guang is so busy. What are you doing?" The teacher left him in school to talk about literature. Kurosawa Hikaru thought for a while and came up with a random reason. "Thesis? What is that? It feels so scary." Xiaoyuki didn't doubt it, but was frightened. It always felt like something very far away. "Want to play tomorrow?" "Tomorrow? Aren't you going to play on Sunday?" "Something happened on Sunday. I'm going to work part-time tomorrow, it's been decided." From morning to around 5 p.m., a sad and pitiful cartoon expression, Xiaoyuki's message was very pitiful. Even through the phone, Kurosawa Hikaru seemed to be able to see the annoyance and confusion on her face. After all, she had been waiting for a week. "Then go and see what you look like part-time, ha ha ha." Realizing that she wanted to work part-time, Kurosawa thought for a while and typed. "Really? Really, when your part-time job is over, we can go on a date for one day." I'm going to take a shower. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Having settled the matter, Kurosawa Hikaru took out a set of pajamas and went to take a shower. Not long after, Kurosawa Hikaru returned to the bedroom, walked to the desk, and moved the notebook on the side in front of him. Turning on the computer, he opened the web page, and after some manipulation, he opened a page, which should be said to be a video. This is a video posted by Blue Beautiful Girl, called Karaoke Party. After 2 weeks of fermentation, the number of views of this video has exceeded 2 million, and the number of likes is extremely high. In the comment area, many people are asking which singer is the singer. It works. Kurosawa glanced at the data and the reactions in the comment section, and nodded. In fact, he wanted to be the Masked Singer and felt that he could be popular and have a future. This was not an unfounded confidence, but a well-founded one. The fact that this video is so popular proves how powerful his singing voice is. First post videos on the internet to accumulate fame and fans, and then go out and sell CDs and songs. This is the initial plan. As for the activities and arrangements after debut, even for concerts, he has a way. After watching it for a while, Kurosawa took the pen and paper again and started drawing. He had a date with Mr. Ninomiya at an amusement park before, but he had never been able to express his entry-level drawing skills. This time he finally had the opportunity to put it to use, that is, to design his own avatar and image. By the time I finished drawing a complete set of image drawings, it was already past 12 o'clock. Perfect, almost as expected. I want to show it to Ms. Runa later. After working all day, Kurosawa Hikaru took a stack of paper in his hand, took a look at the characters and shapes on it, and nodded with satisfaction. 10 a.m., a park in Tokyo. Found it? Kurosawa Hikaru looked at the message on his phone, looked around, and finally saw a familiar figure in front of a fountain. He put away his phone and walked over step by step. The person in front of the fountain is naturally Xiaoyuki, wearing a white suspender chiffon dress and a hat, standing in front of the fountain and posing. Around her, there were many onlookers and a photographer holding a camera. Different from the hot girl outfit, her clothes look light and soft, just like that time when she went to the beach. She is the type of sweet girl, or like a little princess. It seems that this image is her true face, and the hot girl is just her disguise. But what is the same is that her delicate and beautiful face looks particularly beautiful no matter what she wears. Her smile is sweet, she looks energetic, and her teeth are neat. With such an image and appearance, she is indeed qualified to be a graphic model for a fashion magazine. As he approached, Yuki Ichinos, who was posing, quickly noticed. His eyes were a little deviated for a moment, and the smile on his lips became sweeter. The smile is nice, yes, yes. The photographer was holding the camera and shouting, "Hurry up and press the shutter." This situation made Kurosawa Hikaru laugh and feel a little warm in his heart. Obviously, when Xiaoyuki saw him, she smiled sincerely and was very happy. It was no longer a fake smile just for the photo. "I'm very sorry, we are filming, can you please not come closer?" As she was in good condition, a woman in sun protection clothes came over and said politely. In a public place like a park, it is very impolite to ask people not to come closer. "I know Xiaoyuki, I'm just watching from the side, I won't disturb her." Kurosawa Hikaru knew that he kept approaching and startled her, so he explained. "Are you the Hikaru brother she mentioned?" "Yes. I'm Mari Ayata, her agent. Are you interested in being a fashion model?" "Sorry, I still have to go to school, and I have a part-time job, so I don't have time to be a model." "Yes, yes, yes. This smile is so good, pose 8. Just as they were talking, the photographer's excited shout rang again. "Do you want to get closer? For example, stand behind the photographer." Mari Ayata realized that Xiaoyuki's smile was very good now, and she understood it after thinking about it, and suggested, "No, I'll just stand by the side. If the shooting effect is good, everyone can finish work faster." "Okay then." Kurosawa Hikari didn't want to disturb their shooting, but he understood after hearing this. As expected, Kurosawa Hikari stood behind the photographer, who kept shouting excitedly, "The second set of shooting is over, let's change to the third set." Not long after, the photographer stood there and looked at the sample pictures in the camera, then raised his hand and said, "It seems that she likes you very much, she smiles so happily." Seeing that the shooting progress has improved, Ayata Mari folded her arms and said a little enviously, "She met Xiaoyuki by chance and invited her to be a model. She has known her for more than a year. She is like a little sister in the photography team, and she is lovable. But it is the first time she has seen her smile so happily like today." "I know." Kurosawa Hikari smiled at Xiaoyuki, who ran over here as soon as the shooting was over. Unlike Mr. Ninomiya, who was reserved in his emotions, anyone with a discerning eye could see how much Yuki liked him. Her words and actions could show that she was overflowing. "Don't run so fast. What if you fall flat on the ground?" When she ran closer, Kurosawa Hikaru pretended to teach her a lesson, but said teasingly, "Do you think I'm a natural character in some anime? How could I fall flat on the ground?" Yuki Ichino's ran up to him, stomped her feet and said coquettishly after hearing these words, "Please vote."